What is up, ladies and gentle nerds? It's your boy Graham, also known as HamHawks42 on the internet, and today we are going to be looking at another random card. All right, I'm going to click that button. What are we looking at today? All right, we are looking at Spire Patrol. It is a 3/2 flying human soldier for 2 generic, 1 white, 1 blue. And it looks like this is from Aether Revolt, which is in the Kaladesh block, everybody's favorite busted artifact block since Mirrodin. When Spire Patrol enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. All right, so I sustain that a lot of stuff in the Kaladesh block was incredibly busted and unreasonable. This, however, is not one of them. It's a 3/2 flyer for 4 with a freeze ability, so it locks an opponent down. So this is a Frost Lynx on steroids, and it's very good. That's the thing. This is very, very good because it's a 3/2 flyer for 4, and this is reminding me of a couple of things. One, it reminds me of Frost Lynx. Frost Lynx is a 2/2 for 3. It's 2 generic and a blue. When it enters the battlefield, you tap a target or a target creature an opponent controls. It doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Perfectly fine little control creature. It also gets a body on board that could be a mutation target and has the potential of dealing some damage throughout the course of the game. So for the addition of 1 white into the mana cost, you get a gold card here that is effectively the exact same thing, except it has 1 higher toughness, or sorry, 1 higher power and flying, which is a really, really big deal. So when I see something like Frostlinks, I think that that's a perfectly good limited card in 90% of the sets that it appears in. It's also one of those that, like, in the right constructed format, it's not bad. Like, there are certain decks that can leverage it. So when I see something like this, it's like, oh, this is great. Like, this is just straight up great. You know, if I have any kind of blue-white control situation, this is the kind of card I want. And the biggest thing about it is not the tap down ability. I mean, because that's good. It does help. However, the thing about this card that is especially potent and makes it really intriguing is the flying. It has 3 power and flying. So it's slowing your opponent down, but more importantly, it is adding pressure to their life total, which brings the game closer to a close. So if you're running a blue-white control deck, this as a 4-drop can prevent aggressive players from having their biggest threat swing in on you. Plus, it has the added benefit of then being able to counterattack and start hitting their life total. So that's really great. In that respect, actually, it vaguely reminds me of Frilled Mystic, because Frilled Mystic has this effect where when you play it, it counters the spell that your opponent was about to play. So they effectively don't get a turn, and you get a 3/2 that can then provide pressure to your opponent's life total. Now, Frilled Mystic is a lot stronger than Spire Patrol, personally, like in my opinion. I don't think anybody's going to be fighting me on that anytime soon. But it's a similar effect. The idea that when this body hits, comes into play, I get an effect that disrupts your plans and progresses mine. The other thing about that is especially powerful and especially potent is that Frilled Mystic has flash. So that's a really big difference. The idea that Frilled Mystic can be played as a counter spell, but then get the body makes it significantly better than Spire Patrol. Again, I don't think anybody's trying to contest that necessarily, but so Spire Patrol, it's a rock solid little flying beater, which if you're in Azorius control, you need those. You need some way to close the game out. And if you're a non-control player like myself, to all of control players everywhere, on behalf of non-control players everywhere, please, please, please just figure out a way to close the damn game. Please just close the game. Like, if I'm going to lose, I want to lose in 10 minutes, not 30 minutes. So that's actually one of the things that I really like about Spire Patrol. This particular card, it fits within the control colors, it fits within the control style, and it can actually close out the freaking game. So control players, please find cards like Spire Patrol and use them. Now, that said, if I'm running a full-on control deck where my goal is to stop you from doing everything, if I have 4 mana available, I'm not spending it on my turn for a creature. So if I'm running a control where I'm holding up a lot of counter spells, this is not the kind of thing I'm going to want to play, unfortunately, just because Well, I like it. I think it's good. But um, if I'm running blue-white flyers, so that's the other thing. If I'm running Azorius aggro, which is a viable archetype in a lot of formats, you can I would consider running this as a curve topper because it can really, by the time, the thing with Azorius Flyers is when you have a lot of one drops, a lot of two drops, a lot of really small creatures that all have flying, and then Anthem effects later to buff them up so that they can all become stronger and close out the game that way. So something like Spire Patrol allows you to once you get into those fourth or fifth turns, usually what ends up happening, especially if you're going up against like a mid-range player who's leaning into creatures, like a mono green player or something like that, they are likely to have creatures that are significantly bigger than yours. And with any luck, they don't have flying or reach. But if they do, Spire Patrol is a way of getting those blockers out of the way and prevent them from attacking you. So when your opponent drops that questing beast on their turn 4, sure, you take the one hit to the face, but on the next turn, you have all your little flyers, and rather than trying to keep any of them back, although even most of them couldn't even block a questing beast in all likelihood, Spire Patrol is a way of just getting that offline for 2 turns and getting a decent sized body to add to your aerial assault. So I think that's probably where this is going to fit better than a true control setup, but I don't know. I would love the idea. Although actually, you could run it in a deck that is running traditional counterspells and whatnot. You probably have better options, like the aforementioned Frilled Mystic or other flash creatures. I mean, actually, Brazen Borrower is phenomenal in that slot because it gives you a bounce spell and a flash flyer with 3 power. So actually, like that's going to be better in every situation other than the sheer impact on your wallet. That's the other thing. Brazen Borrower is like, what is it, 70, $80, if not 100. I know it was 100 at one point, not too long ago, and it's still legal in standard. So actually, I wouldn't be surprised if it is still. Although actually, the whole market I think is down just because the world's ending. So that might be a thing already. Anyway, I don't know. I haven't looked at card prices recently, but I would bet that Spire Patrol is at most a quarter. And so, because it's an uncommon from Kaladesh, or well, from Aether Revolt, so it's no longer standard legal. This is probably not quite good enough to cut the mustard and Pioneer in any meaningful way. So, I mean, there might be a handful of Pioneer decks that want it, but like I'm sure there are no modern decks that want this because it costs 4. Yeah, the further back you go, it's not, and it doesn't do anything big enough and splashy enough to really make an impact in Commander. So there are certainly some Commander decks that I'm sure would be happy to have it, but actually, I can think of a Commander deck that I'm hoping to build that where I wouldn't mind having one of these. Um, yeah, the name is escaping me right now, but it's the Sphinx from Ravnica, the Inscrutable, Isperia the Inscrutable, I believe it is, where it's an Azorius commander that you get a bonus, or where you get to tutor for any creature with flying if you can like guess a card in an opponent's hand. It's weird, but that's why I like it. And so being able to grab a flyer with some cool effect is really the name of the game with that particular deck. So something like Spire Patrol to answer a huge threat on the board could be really cool, actually. That could be really effective in that situation. So I guess the more I look at it, the more I think about it, the more I realize there are places for this. This is just a rock solid little uncommon. I like it. It's another just rock solid little uncommon. Like not amazing, not going to set the world on fire, but super good. Just super super good. So yeah, if you are in a situation where if you're in a pioneer situation and you really do want some kind of controlling flying finisher, Spire Patrol might be something to consider because, like I said, it's probably going to be a quarter, maybe 50 cents. But compared to Brazen Borrower, which is 100% the better choice, which could cost you $100 because that's a mythic that's still standard legal, whereas Spire Patrol is an uncommon that's not. So just a thought. So as a B plan budget option, I think it could be solid, or yeah, it could do the job. We also see, so in the image we also have a Kaladesh soldier with these incredibly large like ornithopter style like propeller wings, which is kind of a cool. It's kind of a cool image. It's very much an artificer. Yeah, they're like 4 propellers sticking out of this particular person's back, in the same way that you would. I don't know. I'm thinking some kind of like hovercraft. I mean, it basically looks like a helicopter with 4 turbines just jutting out of their back, which is pretty freaking cool. All right, and there is some flavor text, so let's take a look. After I examine your cargo and check your papers, you can be on your way. Ah, very nice, very nice. That's Azorius, baby. That is what they do. That is their style. Now, this particular person is not actually part of the Azorius Senate, but white blue, that color combination, the idea of law and order um, being the police force in a given plane makes a lot of sense. So this all fits. I like it. Flavor wise, it's solid. Artwork is solid. The play on it is just solid. It's just a good card. It does what it does. It does it perfectly well. This is what an uncommon ought to look like, and we've seen a couple of those recently. Actually, even in this color combination, which is kind of interesting. But hey, the random card button gives us what it gives us, and this is the one. All right, cool. Well, thanks so much for hanging out, guys. I appreciate it. As always, this podcast is available everywhere you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube, so that you can see a video feed. And yeah, it's also I also stream over on Twitch, twitch.tv/hamhocks42. I look forward to seeing you over there soon. Thanks so much, and I will catch you next time.